Hello and welcome to my microscopic tiny little corner of the internet, a place where my opinions excrete from my brain into the empty void, a place where I dig through my own psyche and analyze not only the games I play, but how I personally feel about them, a record and a sanctuary for my own thoughts. So far though, I haven't really explored my own nostalgia. One of the reasons I adore playing PS2 era games so much is because I used to rent them a lot during this time period. I played a bunch of different games in this part of my life, and, well, I've forgotten about quite a few of them. But all have made at least some sort of impact on me. A game that really stuck in my memory as a weird, dreamlike experience was a pretty unknown title called 7 Samurai 20XX. So this is actually the most forgotten game that I've played for this channel. Its Wikipedia is pretty short, and its how long to beat page is a barren wasteland. So yeah, this game's based off of Akira Kurosawa's 1954 masterpiece, 7 Samurai, and I had actually never seen this movie before I decided to do this video, so I checked it out. And yeah, damn, it's easily the most watchable movie from 1954 I've ever seen in my life. Expertly acted, gorgeously shot, and overall fastidiously crafted. This movie was dope. I'm ashamed I hadn't seen it sooner. I've known about Akira Kurosawa for a long time, I just never sat down to actually watch one of his movies. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out more of his work though, specifically Yojimbo. 7 Samurai is regarded as an extremely influential film, and you can tell when you watch it. There are so many little tropes that I recognize throughout, and I don't think it's crazy to assume that some of these cliches were created, or at least popularized in this movie. Like this character here, the purposefully obvious standout personality of the whole cast. Not only is his lovable rogue character archetype been done many times since this movie, he also has a particularly large katana, which I feel was a catalyst for big swords being a popular aesthetic choice in a lot of Japanese media. Not only was 7 Samurai indirectly influential, it was also straight up famously remade into one of the best Western films of all time, The Magnificent Seven. A lot of Akira Kurosawa's work has a deep history of being remade into Western movies. Decades later, in 2004, there was even an anime based on the 7 Samurai. Interestingly enough, though, the game we'll eventually talk about, I swear, was also made in 2004. But as far as I can tell, there is zero connection, which is very weird. So the game starts off with a cold open and throws you right into the action. And this is where we meet our main character, the one we'll be playing as throughout the whole game, Nato. And he has quite the look. It's a hyper anime aesthetic that I have to say is fairly unique. I've never seen anything quite like it. All these character designs are striking, impactful, loud, silly, goofy, dumb, and just different as hell. I really like them. Even Nato here looks really stupid. The crop top is a very interesting choice, but it gives his design a goofiness that I can't help but love. His super thin scarf cape, his goggles, his hair, his elaborate details on his clothes, it's all very inspired and wonderfully unique. What's so unbelievably interesting about these character designs is that they were actually created by a French comic book legend, Jean-Henri Gaston Guirand, or better known as his pseudonym, Mobius. An unbelievably impressive artist. Some of his work is honestly astounding. I have never heard of this guy before making this video, and honestly, while I was writing it, I got sidetracked for like an hour just looking at this dude's work. Very, very inspiring to me personally. His use of colors and negative space creates such a calm and wondrous tone that's honestly enchanting. Alright, okay, anyways, 7 Samurai 20XX's character designs may not be Mobius's best work, but he really succeeded in bringing a lot of personality to a game that severely needed it. These character designs are honestly the best part of the game for me. They're just fun to look at, silly and off-the-wall ridiculous. That's the type of stuff I love to see. I love it in the same way that I love JoJo's character designs. Sometimes it takes an expert artist to create something so wonderfully stupid, I can't stop myself from adoring it. What's interesting is these characters are still dripping in an anime aesthetic, so presumably Mobius changed his style up ever so slightly to give them this traditional anime face structure. Or maybe it was changed by someone else later in the project to be more marketable to a Japanese audience. I don't really know. Throughout the game we meet these outlandishly designed characters one by one, and first we are introduced to a rival of Nato here named Zex.
Those villagers are mine, samurai boy.
No. This guy is what this game refers to as a humanoid. These robot demon creatures that apparently only exist to wreak havoc on this world. Nato fairly easily defeats this big nerd here and heads on his way. He soon stumbles across a scene that is directly taken from the movie that introduces one of the most integral characters of the original story, if not the most integral. And this is then where the plot starts to kick off. Just like in the OG movie, there's a village that needs protection and they are searching for samurai to protect them. The first one they convince is this righteous old samurai by the name of Kanbei. He tries to sway Nato to join the team, but to no avail, considering Nato is written like a pretty dang generic, too cool for school loner anti-hero.
Can't you just kill a couple humanoids for us?
You seem to be missing the point. As long as you stay in this land, no matter how many humanoids you slay, there's always more.
The writing in this game, overall, really does pale in comparison to what it was inspired by. The story, honestly, when it's all said and done, is unnecessarily overly convoluted. The movie kept things nice and simple, plot-wise, so it could make room for these characters' personalities, interactions, and development to shine through. But here in 20XX, it feels honestly like these characters barely change or grow throughout the story because we're constantly being introduced to new plot twists, lore, and random characters that only show up once before Nato smokes their boots.
You need a new act.
The basic gist of the story is that there's this sacred girl Hinata, and with her, a sacred treasure. She ran away from the city she was being worshipped and guarded in, and subsequently was hunted down by an agent named 8, who later joins up with the rest of the crew to become one of the 7 samurai. She begged him not to take her back to the city, so he decided to take her to a village, expecting them to keep her safe. Instead, the villagers turned on the girl and tried to hold her for ransom, which somewhat fits in with one of the aspects of the OG movie in that the farmers can be selfish and only look out for their own tribe. The village was then attacked by humanoids who also wanted the power of Hinata, so the village sent out for samurai to help protect them. The humanoids are the real threat of this story, as they can achieve some sort of ultimate power if they acquire the sacred treasure. And that is where even more interesting and awesome looking characters come into play. My favorite is this dude, who is dripping in this early 2000s super anime goth aesthetic. I love it. He can't die, and all he wants to do is die, so he soaks in a puddle of his own angst. It's funny how serious this game takes this character most of the time.
You see, I envy your frail human body, for you can pass on to the next world, while I am trapped on this earth.
This guy's whacked.
Some of these bosses are so fun to just look at and laugh at while they spit out cliched dialogue and bask in their own ridiculousness. For example, look at these 2 rapping dorks.
Well, the damn humanoids try to steal the show. So why are they all tripping about this girl?
That genuinely got a laugh out of me. Maybe not entirely the way it was intended, but it's still purposefully funny and enjoyably goofy.
I hope for your sake you fight better than you rap.
The bosses are fun to encounter, and honestly they're some of the highlights of the game. If only they were actually fun to fight. So yeah, anybody watching this far could probably surmise that this is a hack and slash snorefest. It feels like Dynasty Warriors but with less enemies, which sucks. And I'll be real, I literally exclusively mashed square throughout the entire game because I legitimately could not figure out how to do any of these special moves. I think I figured out how to do some of them, but the animations are so similar and they don't have any different type of effect on the enemy that it's so difficult to tell if I even actually did one. Like, some of these special moves are entirely useless as they're basically just regular attacks with insignificantly different animations. Also, they're clunky as hell and super unintuitive to do when you're in the heat of battle. I mean, these inputs suck. Look at this one. I could not do it. I tried for like 20 minutes to figure this out. Do I do a full circle? Do I go back to neutral after each directional input? Do the inputs change depending on which way I'm facing, like in Devil May Cry? Like, if Dante's stinger is R1 forward triangle, but forward is dictated by which way Dante's facing, so if he's facing left, then it's R1 left triangle. I have no idea if that's the case or not, because the game just tells me that Naoto needs to be facing the back of the screen. What the hell is the back of the screen? Whatever. I opted out to just smash the square button as many times as possible anyways. It worked because this game is insanely easy. Thank the heavens, because if this game was hard, it would have been a miserable experience. The combat isn't entirely mindless, though. There is one kinda cool idea, and that's these just moves. Just dodge, just attack, and just block. Just dodge and attack are useless, trust me, so I'm not even going to talk about them, but I did use just guard in every single fight. It's an actually interesting mechanic. It's a block that doesn't interrupt or stop any of your attack animations. Think about the way dodging worked in Nier Automata. You can dodge whenever you want, canceling an attack animation. In 20XX, it works the same, except your block doesn't have its own animation. Just an aura shows up around you. That means you can block and continue an attack while being defensively ready for incoming attacks. It seems OP, right? And it kind of is, but there's this meter which limits how often you can do it, so it's somewhat balanced a bit. Some of the bosses are actually a little fun with this mechanic, like this guy who can't die here. Timing good blocks while staying offensive is crucial for this fight, considering he constantly regenerates. It's actually kind of interesting. Overall, though, the combat is below average. I would go even as far as to say it's bad, but there are a few ideas here that are notable, and honestly, I've played a lot worse. Naoto actually feels like he's got a little bit of weight to him, and the animations are honestly pretty impressive and somewhat fun to watch. And I can't say that I don't love Naoto's stupid, dorky dance he does after every single battle. So, as the game's story wraps up, in the wake of a few character deaths that were admittedly mildly well done, we have our final boss battle and cutscene, which is considerably brutal when you take into account that this is a teen-rated game. This is the best scene when it comes to interesting action choreography, but as far as any emotional impact goes, well, it's not affecting me in any way. The ending is the same as in the movie, but it seriously lacks the punch that it had. The movie ends with this cynical sense of loss and pointlessness. The story was carried and made interesting by the samurai, but it wasn't their story. It was the villagers. It's a happy ending for them. The samurai, though, well, they were either left dead or feeling this sense of no progress, nothing gained, nothing won, only loss. It's a very bleak ending in tone. In the game, they try to allude to some of these themes, but it's pretty lackluster. I mean, I never expected 20XX to be anywhere close to as good as the movie when it comes to its story anyways, so it's really not a big deal. Seven Samurai 20XX is a great game to look at. Its aesthetic is wonderfully stupid and elaborately designed. It has this overall sense of style that honestly had an impact on me when I was a kid. I remember drawing Naoto, but not because I loved the game or because I played it a lot, just because I was really into the way the game looked. From the cyberpunk-esque city to the desolate wasteland to the crop-top cool dudes and their wacky outfits, 20XX doesn't have good gameplay and it doesn't have good story, but it does really have an interesting style, and as stupid as it is, I dig it a lot. I can't help but feel this sense of kinship with 7 Samurai 20XX. The weirdness of it, the attempt to emulate something great but add its own personality, and its inevitable decline into obscurity. All this could be said about my channel, my attempt at creation. I've always loved learning about and discovering extremely unknown and forgotten games, as well as music, movies, and manga. It's exciting to find a secret hidden treasure that also appeals to my subjective tastes. I think I have just come to realize that I myself am creating something obscure and unknown. Under this colossal pile of videos on this website is where I reside, hunkering down tightly in one of the deepest corners, waiting to be stumbled upon. I would like to grow, of course, and I can't explain how appreciative I am to the guys who watch this, specifically Red Grave Flame. Dude, you're always giving positivity, and that's awesome. But I'm fine with staying where I am. I've created something that has become what I love in a sense, and I'm pretty down for that. And it took this dumb game to get me to realize it.